Now it's my pleasure to shift the spotlight to Michael Cornicelli, BOMA's Executive Vice President.
Thanks, Bob. As BOMA Chicago's Executive VP, I'm really very proud of the many programs and services that we've been able to deliver to you over the past year. None of that could have been achieved without the strategic direction provided by our officers and board, the planning and execution by our committees and staff, or the support of our members and sponsors. But in no aspect of our programming is that combination more important than in our advocacy work. BOMA Chicago was founded more than 111 years ago for one primary purpose: to act as the collective voice and advocate for the commercial real estate industry in Chicago. What started with a focus on labor relations in 1902 evolved to encompass building codes and standards, real estate property taxes, life safety and security, energy and sustainability, transportation infrastructure, economic development, and the list goes on. In past years, we've enjoyed many successes in working collaboratively with the city and other stakeholders on a variety of issues, preparing for the NATO summit, developing new inspection protocols for elevators, promoting energy efficiency, and many more. But 2013 was a particularly challenging year for us, as public policy makers at all levels were active on issues that directly impacted commercial real estate. Some of those initiatives were positive and some were not, but all of them carried compliance requirements and costs. That also occurred in a fragile economic environment where owners are still struggling with economic and market recovery. In thinking about the effectiveness of our advocacy efforts, it's important to remember that success is sometimes measured by what we accomplish and sometimes by what we prevent. With that in mind, I want to give you a few highlights of our work on your behalf this year. Concealed carry legislation. As Illinois became the last state in the union to adopt legislation permitting individuals to carry concealed weapons, BOMA Chicago worked successfully with state legislators to ensure that we retain the right to determine concealed carry policies for our own buildings. Regardless of how you feel about gun control, the ability to choose policies that will apply to your own privately owned assets is a fundamental right that we were able to protect for you. Our strategic decision to approach that issue as a property right rather than a gun control issue was key to our success in that. Energy benchmarking. This year, Chicago joined a host of other major cities and states in adopting mandatory energy benchmarking and public disclosure of individual building scores. As a longtime advocate of energy benchmarking, BOMA Chicago supported the benchmarking provisions, but opposed mandatory public disclosure of individual building data. Despite nearly 2 years of dialogue with the mayor's office on those issues, we were unable to protect the privacy of your data or mitigate the potentially adverse impact of its disclosure to parties who have no need to see it. But we continue to evaluate the legal position of building owners on that issue, and we've not reached the end of that road yet. Fire sprinklers. Most of us recall the tragic loss of 6 lives in the Cook County building fire almost 10 years ago to the day. Soon after that, Chicago adopted new ordinances eliminating locked stairwell doors and mandating sprinkler retrofits in most commercial buildings. Some, mostly residential and historic buildings, are permitted to forego the costly sprinkler installations if they can demonstrate a comparable level of protection through other means. Notwithstanding 10 years of experience with the Chicago ordinance and no fire-related injuries or deaths in commercial buildings, the Illinois State Fire Marshal attempted to dismantle our local approach and superimpose a different and far more costly statewide scheme. BOMA Chicago led a consortium of local real estate organizations aligned with the City of Chicago in opposition and defeated that proposal. In some of those issues, our advocacy efforts were successful. In others, we were less so. But in the words of baseball great Leroy Satchel Paige, you win a few and you lose a few, and some of them get rained out, but you got to dress for them all. So as we approach year end, we've suited up and begun work on a few more issues that are likely to play out in 2014. Special service areas and taxes. Two prominent Chicago business organizations, the Greater North Michigan Avenue Association and the Chicago Loop Alliance, have announced plans to seek formation of new or expanded special service areas to provide enhanced services to stakeholders within their boundaries. Those special services would be funded by new real estate property taxes that most likely would be levied on the commercial real estate, but not the residential real estate or the tax-exempt property within those boundaries. Our goals in both cases are to determine first whether the proposed services would benefit commercial properties in proportion to their costs, and second, whether the proposed methods of funding those services are fair and equitable. You should look for more from us on those issues very soon. Bus rapid transit. While most of us agree that our buildings and tenants would benefit from enhanced transit options between Union Station and Michigan Avenue, the devil's in the details. The Chicago Department of Transportation has announced plans for a bus rapid transit system that has great potential, but that also poses significant challenges. Despite the fact that nearly every building along the proposed route is a member of BOMA Chicago, it came as an afterthought to CDOT that they should talk with us about their plans before they were set in stone. Only at BOMA Chicago's urging has CDOT recently begun that outreach to buildings along the route. Time will tell whether any meaningful opportunity exists for us to exert our influence in that arrangement. But transparency and collaboration were clearly shoved aside as the city muscles through yet another ambitious project that directly impacts us without any meaningful outreach to key stakeholders. Bicycle ordinances. We saw the Divvy Bike program rolled out in 2013, and we expect to see it enhanced in the coming year. Again, there's been a notable lack of cooperation in locating the facilities and little or no effort devoted to addressing the proliferation of cyclists downtown for whom the observance of basic traffic laws is a rare thing. Serious consideration is now being given to imposing requirements that all commercial buildings allow an unlimited number of your tenants' employees to bring bikes through your lobbies and up your elevators, and that you provide secure bike parking for them at no charge. Apparently, policy advocates with no commercial real estate experience whatsoever think they know better than we do what tenants want. In the absence of any legitimate life safety interest, the disregard for private property rights inherent in this proposal is stunningly arrogant. We simply cannot allow any proposal like that to proceed. While we have many allies in our work on those issues, none of them are focused on representing the commercial real estate industry here. Not the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, not the Greater North Michigan Avenue Association, not the Chicago Loop Alliance, not the Civic Federation, not Choose Chicago, not the Metropolitan Planning Council, and certainly not the Active Transportation Alliance, and not any of the other dozen organizations that touch our industry in some indirect way. Let me be clear. All of those organizations have been valued partners in much of our advocacy work. We, in turn, have supported their proposals when we believe them to be thoroughly vetted and beneficial. But let me also be clear in saying that none of them have commercial real estate's best interests at the forefront of their priorities. Only BOMA Chicago does that for you. No one else will. We have always tried to take the high road in our advocacy efforts, the thoughtful, deliberate, and measured approach. That's something that BOMA Chicago has always been known for, and something that we're proud to continue. But given the challenges facing us by policy advocates with little or no financial stake in their proposals, I promise you that BOMA Chicago will take a more aggressive posture in supporting your interests this year. When a downstate bureaucrat who wants to pick a turf battle with the city of Chicago and trash a successful 10-year-old fire safety ordinance says, we need to intervene, we'll say, no thanks. Go back to Springfield, we don't need your help here. When your property manager comes to work on Monday morning and sees that a divvy bike stand was erected over the weekend in front of the main building entrance, without any consultation or notice, obstructing egress and blocking loading, we'll ask, what happened to transparency? Where's the collaboration? When another business group with a different constituency says they want you to pay more taxes for enhanced services for their members that may or may not benefit you, we'll say, stop. Who's paying the bills here? And when some policy wonk in the mayor's office, funded by the Bloomberg Foundation, thinks it would be cool if everybody could take their bikes through your lobbies and up your elevators and that you should pay to store them, well, you can probably guess what I'd say to that. Because if we don't say those things, if we don't stand up for your best interests, if we aren't willing to ruffle a few feathers along the way, well, no one else will. And that's what distinguishes BOMA Chicago from every other group in town, our singular focus on the needs and interests of the commercial real estate industry here. It's tough doing this kind of work anywhere, but particularly in Chicago. I've said many times that it's not the way Sister Mary Agnes taught high school civics. But we do our best to do well and to do good at the same time. That's something else that Sister taught me. We suit up every day and we work those issues that are important to you when others can't or won't. 2013 was a tough year and 2014 will be tougher, but we've got your back. And in conclusion, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for your overwhelming support for our efforts on your behalf. Thank you for your time, thank you for your expertise, and thank you for your funding. Thanks.
Yeah, Michael Cornicelli. Well, that was a spirited advocacy report. Michael, thank you. I love when you get pumped like that, and I hope all of you are as energized as I am to take on these initiatives and continuing to be the voice of Chicago's office building industry. Thank you. It's great.